Hello, Forest Brook Gator. This is consequence number 2 for your iPad usage. Obviously, there are a couple things that you need to review in how to use your iPad appropriately. This is consequence number 2. This video is long and it will outline exactly what you are and are not allowed to do with an iPad. Using an iPad for educational purposes, a Forest Brook Middle School exclusive consequence. Off-task behaviors while on the device are inappropriate and they are not allowed. What is an off-task behavior? Obviously, anything that is not what the teacher has asked you to do. If you have not been asked to go to an app and you're on an app that is not for what the class is doing at the time, and it is not free time, and you have not been directed to use your time to do anything other than the appropriate activity, then that is considered an off-task behavior. It is inappropriate and it is not allowed. Unauthorized and inappropriate written communication on your iPad in any way, whether it be in an app, in an email, in Show Me, on Edmodo. All of these are unauthorized and inappropriate written communications, and they need to stop. Unauthorized and inappropriate oral communication. While you are using your iPad, you are not allowed to have inappropriate oral communication about anything that is on your iPad. Inappropriate and unauthorized email. You should be using your email to contact your teachers only. Unauthorized and inappropriate websites. The only websites that you should be on are school-approved websites or those that were directed or approved by your teacher. It is totally inappropriate to be on ESPN or anything that does not involve educational learning. If you are in PE class and you are instructed to go to ESPN, that would be fine. But most often, this isn't what you've been asked to go to by your ELA, science, social studies, or math teacher. So unless you have been instructed to go there, stay away. Unauthorized or inappropriate computer games. It is totally inappropriate to be on a computer game that has not been offered to you by your teacher for instructional purposes. If you are in USA Test Prep and you're playing something that is there for you, like Sasquatch, that's allowed. If you are in Alex and there's a game there for your math class, that's allowed. If you are in Compass Learning and there's a game there, that's allowed. But it is totally inappropriate to go and play Minecraft during the day, unless it has been set up by a teacher for a specific educational purpose. So it is inappropriate to play computer games that are not approved. It is inappropriate to use unauthorized apps. I know that Flappy Birds was something everybody was trying to download. That's an inappropriate app. It's unauthorized. If it's not in the HCS apps container, stay away from it. If you have it on your iPad, you have 24 hours to remove it, or you will follow the discipline flow. Unauthorized non-school related activity. If it has nothing to do with school, it better stay off your iPad. The use of profane, inflammatory, or abusive language. You are not allowed to use your iPad to cuss at someone by going on Show Me or using telegami in order to say cuss words and then play it later for your friends to listen. This is use of profane, inflammatory, or abusive language, nor are you allowed to use it to bully anyone with. Illegal installation or transmission of copyrighted materials. You should not be using materials that are not authorized and then taking it and putting it on your iPad. You did not give credit, nor are you using it properly. Unauthorized participation in chatting or messaging services. None of these services are supported by Forest Brook Middle School or by Horry County Schools. We do not want you to participate in any type of messaging, chatting, or anything like that. If you are participating in it and you are caught, you will be disciplined, following the discipline flow. Downloading unauthorized applications. This was already mentioned a moment ago about apps, but there are other applications that you could download onto your device which are inappropriate and unauthorized. Please refrain from doing so, or you will follow the discipline flow. Negligent care of your iPad device. Take care of it, or you're going to lose it. But if that negligent care of your device results in damage, then you'll pay for it. Unauthorized transmission of personal information. You should not be transmitting any personal information from one student to another, or just saving it on your device at all. You should not know other people's passwords, nor should you memorize other people's passwords, nor should you also take someone else's iPad in your hand, which is prohibited, and use it for any reason. You should not know someone else's locker combination, cafeteria number, and you certainly shouldn't be knowing or using their iPad. Activities that may be disruptive to the school environment. You should not be doing anything on your iPad that will disrupt school environment. This is written in South Carolina law, and it is totally inappropriate in the school setting. Changing software and or hardcore configurations. If they are hardware configurations that are hardwired in, and the software or configurations that were set up in the beginning by Horry County Schools, you have no right, you have no permission to be modifying these settings in any way. If that is unclear to you at all, please see Ms. Gensler or Ms. Scott, Ms. Melchione, Dr. Boone, or Mr. Murphy. Loading, storing, creating unauthorized files. These are prohibited. You are not allowed to load, store, create any unauthorized files. Loading, storing, creating unauthorized images. We should not pick up your iPad at any time and see that you have unauthorized images on your iPad that are not being used for educational purposes in any of your classes. In other words, it's inappropriate to go onto Google, find a good-looking woman, and take a unauthorized image of her. And also women or girls, it is inappropriate for you to go onto Google, find a really good-looking man, and take an image of that person. It is against school rules. Loading, storing, creating unauthorized videos. The same thing as with images. You are not allowed to store unauthorized videos. If you are on YouTube for something that is for school purposes, that is one thing. But if you are downloading anything that is unauthorized, vulgar, or otherwise non-educational, you should stay away from it. Loading, storing, creating unauthorized apps. You should not be looking, creating, or storing any unauthorized apps on your iPad. Again, the rule, if it's not in the HCS container, stay away from it. Loading, storing, creating unauthorized data. You can create a lot of things in pages or numbers, but you make sure that the things that you create are all uplifting to others and nothing is degrading to others. You are not allowed to create unauthorized data on that iPad. Do not load, store, create unauthorized music. You are not allowed to use your own iPad password. Go in and download your own music from your phone or from anywhere else onto your school-issued educational iPad. It is not allowed. Do not get caught with it. Loading, storing, creating unauthorized programs. There are a lot of tech-savvy students out there, but just like in the superhero world, we want you to use your brain for good and not for wrong. If you know how to do things, show a friend. Help them to understand apps. Be encouraging in that way, but do not teach them how to create, store, or load unauthorized programs. Save that for your free time and someday get a job at Google, but do not use it at school to do anything illegal. Loading, storing, creating unauthorized viruses. It is not funny. You will be charged. It is against the rules at Forest Brook, Horry County rules, and it is against the law. Viruses hurt computer applications. Do not do it. Taking pictures without a subject or the school's permission. You should not be taking pictures of any student or teacher without their permission at school. If it is for a school project, the teacher will be directing it, and the teacher will be in charge of watching and making sure that students are doing it correctly. There should not be any child or student taking pictures of students while education is going on if that is not part of the topic. For instance, we did a science weather project, and it was very appropriate for a student to take a picture of another student in front of a weather map. It would have been very inappropriate during that project for students to be taking pictures of other students just posing in front of the camera and smiling with their friends. It would have been very appropriate for them to videotape one student doing something in front of a weather map, like showing the weather. It would have been very inappropriate at that time to videotape another student across the classroom who wasn't even in their project group. So do not take pictures without subject or school's permission. Do not take audio without subject or school's permission. In other words, if your teacher is teaching and you have not asked the teacher, can I record you so that I can understand this later, then you shouldn't be doing it. You should not be taking any audio, video, or pictures and uploading anything to Facebook or to YouTube. This is against school policy, district policy, and in some cases, you can be sued. Taking video without the subject or school's permission. If you are doing it while you're doing a project and it's part of the project, it is allowed. The teacher will be watching, the teacher will be reviewing what you're doing. But if you're doing it just on the fly, walking down the hall, that is inappropriate. Use of unauthorized or anonymous and/or false communication. Do not use unauthorized, anonymous, and/or false communication. You are not allowed to send things and try to get away with it. Every single iPad has a number that can be traced. Any communication will track you down. We'll figure out who you are, and then we'll follow up with disciplinary action. Such as, but not limited to, getting on Google, Google Chat, MSN Messenger, or Yahoo Messenger. All of these are not allowed. Unauthorized change of program settings. We know that you're techie. We know that many of you might even know more about the settings than your own teachers. But does that matter at all? No, it doesn't. You are to make sure that the program settings that were set up by Horry County Schools is still the program settings that are on your iPad. You do not have permission to go in and change any of the settings or the preferences without instruction. Any behavior or activity that damages or disrupts network performance at school. You shouldn't be changing anything that is going to make our network not work correctly or disrupt the network performance. Deletion or examination of files that belong to another student or user. You are not allowed to pick up someone else's iPad anyway. That was covered in video number 1. We don't touch another student's iPad. Therefore, if you're not touching it, you wouldn't be able to delete their files. You wouldn't be able to examine files that belong to other users. So don't touch them and don't look at them. Copying or modifying files that belong to other users. Again, if your iPad is in your hand and their iPad is in their hand and you do not have their iPad, you won't do this wrong because you won't be able to copy or modify the files that belong to someone else. Do not do it. Spamming or sending mass or inappropriate emails. It has been said before, I will say it again. You are to only email your teachers, period. Sharing, using, or modifying someone else's username and password. You should not share anyone's password, username, modify their password, go in and change their settings. You shouldn't have their iPad in your hand. And no one should be telling you their passwords anyway. If you memorize other people's passwords, you purposefully did it. Touching another student's iPad without specific teacher instruction. Now, it is possible that a teacher might ask you if you are a tech leader to help another student. That's an appropriate situation. You shouldn't have their iPad in your hand if you've not been instructed, period. Any activity that voids the device service agreement, software license, or warranty as void, null and void. If you do anything to that iPad or someone else's iPad that makes the service agreement, software license, or warranty null and void, that means we could not ever get money back. We could never ever turn that device back in because it has some type of defect. If you do that, you're paying for it, period. Such as but not limited to jailbreaking it, rooting it, a process of hacking a device by digital rights management software. Don't do it at all. Unauthorized entry to program files by hacking. Again, I say, I know that many of you are very techy, but you save that for your free time at your home, and then eventually you can go work at Google. But don't practice it with Horry County Schools property, period. Sending, transmitting, accessing, or publishing obscene content. Do not send, transmit, access, or publish anything that you would not want your parents to see that you sent, or your minister, or someone that you are looking up to. If you don't think that Mrs. Scott needs to see that, then you better not publish it. You better erase it immediately, get it off your device and anyone else's that you sent it to. Sending, transmitting, accessing, or publishing offensive content. If it will offend someone, don't do it. Sending, transmitting, accessing, or publishing threatening content. If it is going to be a threat, if you think later, oh, I was just joking. There are no jokes with threats. Do not threaten another person while using your iPad. Sending, transmitting, accessing, or publishing content to harm or demean staff or students. It is totally inappropriate to take a picture of a staff member, a student, and to make fun of them, put horns on their head, doing something funny with the picture and altering it in any way, and then sending it to other people, or saying mean things onto a picture and then sending it to other people. That is very demeaning. It's harmful. It will hurt those people. And if you think that you don't want Miss Scott to see it, then you better not do it. Sending, transmitting, accessing, or publishing content for illegal or financial gain. If you are trying to make money while using an iPad for Horry County schools, it is punishable by law. Do not use an educational iPad in this way. Any activity that violates local, state, and/or federal law or regulations, stay away from it. It is not your iPad, it is the school's iPad. It is Horry County Schools' iPad. And they have lawyers, and you do not want to get on the bad side. Use your iPad for good. Thank you.